Good morning, my friends. This is the Grim Flayer, and I hope you are all doing very well on this fine morning. So we are here to play our first ever for this channel, Donation League, and this is a pretty stock Golgari list insofar as the strategy goes. Like, we're not doing any kind of a crazy sub-theme like Delirium, not splashing a third color, even micro splash, nothing like that. But what we are doing is playing a lot of cards that are not currently in my 75, or if they are, they're in different positions. So, this is our first ever donation league. This is how it's going to be. It was donated by a patron who wished to remain anonymous. And if you want to know exactly how the donation leagues work, see my previous video and or my most recent post on Patreon. I can link that stuff below. And we're going to call this Vraska Golgari because Vraska Golgari Queen is in the main deck, and that's very spicy. But we'll do a quick line-by-line deck tech, and then we'll get right into a league. So the land base is literally the exact same one I myself am running for my April update, so no complaints there. We've also got a 3/3 Inquisition Thoughtseize split, just like I do, 4 Fatal Push, so far all the same, but we're back to the one-of main deck Nile Spellbomb, which you may know I have done in the past, just don't have room for it right now, but it's still quite good in the current meta. 1 Collective Brutality, and only 3 copies of some of our core cards, Liliana of the Veil and Dark Confidant, and as you know, I've done that myself in the past. I think 3 is the minimum for these cards right now, and of course 4 is good too. But this list here, we're only on 3 each. 4 Tarmogoyf, 3 Skoos, this is all stock. Full 4 copies of Assassin's Trophy. We're on the full playset of Trophy here, so that's worth noting. No Abrupt Decay, unlike my list. Like I said, 3 Lily of the Veil, 1 Last Hope, 3 Tracker, and the 1 of Maelstrom Pulse, and the 1 of Kalidas. But we also have this Spice Queen Golgari, the Golgari Queen Vraska. She is an Abrupt Decay that's repeatable and leaves a Planeswalker behind, so that goes some way to making up for the missing Abrupt Decay, but at the same time, not really, because she costs 4 mana, and that's the issue with this card. 4 mana, so she's a slow Abrupt Decay, and her +2 is pretty win more. However, she is a fine card. She is very strong in mid-range mirrors, and she is serviceable against other decks where you are already stabilized. So she actually does a lot. She's very flexible, and I'm excited to play her. She hasn't quite made it to any of my competitive 75 lists, but she's there in the maybe board, and now we get to play her today. So let's take a look at the sideboard. We have the 2nd Spellbomb, we have the 2 Surgicals, these are similar to my current list, but we also have a 1 of Damping Sphere. This is a card that is of course very playable, very viable, does a lot of things against a lot of decks right now. I personally don't think it's that great of a fit though for the Golgari decks, because competing with our 2-drop threats in the matchups where we want it, it's to me a lot better to try to disrupt on 1, and then on 3 with Liliana or Field of Ruin, and play a threat in between on 2. Now, you can still do that if you have the luxury of going like turn 2 Tarmogoyf, turn 3 Damping Sphere, but it does fit a little bit more awkwardly on the curve in terms of maximizing our ability to curve out, and it's vulnerable to EE on 2 for the decks that care about Sphere. So, very viable. I don't like to see multiple spheres in people's lists. I advise against that. I think it's totally fine as a 1-of. I personally don't use it as a 1-of usually, but it's here, and we're going to play it today, so that's pretty exciting. Duress has been in my decks before as a 1-of, perfectly fine sideboard card. We got the 2nd Collective Brutality, we got the triple Fulminator Mage, and then we've got still more spice to come. So Choke falls in the Damping Sphere category, as I don't like when people play multiples, so I'm totally fine with it in the list as a 1-of, and that's exactly what our donor has drawn up here. So we have the access to the Choke, we have our Finks that we know and love, and we have arguably the spiciest inclusion of all in the form of Ishkana Graf Widow. So this is a 3/5 reach with an ETB of making 3/1/2 reaching spider tokens if you have Delirium, and you can also use it as a mana sink, a very expensive one, but one that drains the opponent. So that can get around Ensnaring Bridge, and it's just a good blocker against Spirits and Phoenix if you can stabilize it by turn 5 and play it on curve. And it's a good value mid-range bomb in the mirror matches. So, yeah, it's slow, but it is powerful and it is pretty unique. But the problem, I guess, is that it's pretty slow, and a big part of its value is conditional with Delirium. So you'll usually have it, you know, in the types of games where you want it, but that's mainly why it's not a slam dunk inclusion. In most decks, just a little slow and a little conditional, but definitely a viable card and a powerful card. We have 2 4-mana sweepers, which I like to see the split if we're doing that, of Damnation and Languish. I usually can only find room for 1, but splitting the difference here if you're playing 2 is correct in my view. And then finally we have Cry of the Carnarium, which is a 3rd sweeper effect, only hits the weenies, but hey, it also takes care of recursive stuff, so good against Dredge, good against Arclight Phoenix. Looks like a really coherent, really solid, and really spicy deck to me. So we are playing a friendly league, as you will know if you watch my explanatory video or read my explanatory post about the donation leagues. The donor gets to choose. It's donor's choice. Do you want it friendly or competitive, and do you want replay or live? Our anonymous donor today said live is good and whatever I feel like for friendly or competitive, and I said, hey, let's play a friendly league. It's been a really long time since I've done friendly league footage on this channel. It's still a good level of competition, and you know, we're playing a little bit more conservatively with my ticks here, especially not only because it's a new list to me, but also because we're just a few days into the London Mulligan, so we might see all kinds of crazy stuff. And if the meta is extremely broad, and we have a change that favors linear decks, which I think the London Mulligan on the whole does, although there's arguments that it favors us, you know, incentivizing the opponent to discard, and then we can prey upon that as well. Yeah, for all those reasons, we're going to do a friendly. While we are about to start, we are also very quickly thanking our brand new Patreon supporter, Kurt Simmons. Welcome aboard, Kurt. Kurt is an Inquisitor. Thank you for the support, my friend, and remember, everybody, if you would like to support this content, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and of course, if you are so inclined, you can support me on Patreon as well. Opponent's gonna mull. We will certainly keep this hand on the draw. It's very good in a blind game 1. It's gonna be turn 1 Thought Season to turn 2 our choice of Premier Threat, Bob or Goyf, depending on what the opponent's up to, basically. If we hit a lot of lands, the tracker might become good. If we don't, well, we're going to hit gas. So, Wooded Foothills Pass. Unfortunately, this could be Valakut, but it could also be a lot of other things, so let's find out. With a Thoughtseize. It is Valakut. So. They don't currently have any ramp. They have Prismatic Omen, which kind of lets them cast Scapeshift a turn earlier than they otherwise would, and Scapeshift itself. They also have Flame Slash. It's definitely either Omen or Flame Slash, and I think I'm actually supposed to just take Flame Slash here and try to race. That said, our Goyf is not that big yet, so racing might involve us playing Dark Confidant and trying to hit more disruption. Liliana the Veil would be very, very good here, but we need to find her and find lands. So, yeah, I think it's Bob here. I think it's Bob over Goyf, especially because they get a free block in with that Elder. Elder was a really good draw for them. And this is our toughest tiered matchup, so we're off to a true test here. And they find Search for tomorrow, so they're just drawing ramp pieces off the top. Again, very nice for them. Interesting that they're offering the attack here. I'd definitely just take that. I think they're supposed to stay back and block and then sack, but what do I know? Alright, so we draw Thoughtseize. Well, that's going to get the Scapeshift out of their hand. And then it is Tarmogoyf time. And I think we should just sandbag that fetch land for now. I don't mind exposing Field of Ruin because they're kind of in a position where they're just playing anything playable they draw. It's not like they're sequencing around field or anything, right? So there's a Valakut. And now they're on the block mode. In block mode, rather. Okay, Tireless Tracker, sure. Yeah, our best play here, I believe, is just going to be Tracker into land, so let's attack first. The opponent blocked but didn't sack. Okay, well, fine with me. Fine with me. Fine with me. Just make both of our clues now. Alright, so, yeah, I'm very happy they haven't gotten a land there, because Search for Tomorrow coming off suspend. If they had another land on the field, they could, like, you know, cast a top-deck Titan. Or, I guess, a top-decked Scapeshift with Prismatic Omen around, but oh, the opponent realized their mistake. I guess it was just a misclick. So it's not... Alright. So they did find a land for turn, and they get to start picking our stuff off with Valakut, which means we are probably supposed to field the Valakut here main phase, although there's an argument for, you know, just holding it to try to respond to Scapeshift or, yeah, Scapeshift, but yeah, I guess we're kind of hoping to just fade the top deck Scapeshift no matter how we sequence. So I guess our best line here is field the Valakut. Play a Bob. Alright, so that set our clock back a turn, them killing Tracker, but they're just scooping. That's a little bit of a premature scoop because they're not dead on board, I don't think. Well, if we can grow the Tarmogoyf by 1 and attack with Quagmire as well, but either way, I will take it. So, don't know whether the opponent's failure to sack their Sakura Tribe Scout came into things. It doesn't appear that it did, right? Does not appear that it did. Looks like they probably just had another land on top, so... So we were rewarded for fielding away the Valakut their last turn, and yeah, this is our toughest tiered matchup, so I'll take a win game 1 for sure. So with this list, let's see what we like. Fulminator is our best card. Surgicals come in for sure. I don't know what else we are gonna cut, but we'll consider bringing in Collective Brutality. We'll probably bring in Collective Brutality. Kitchen Finks is a maybe, and we don't have all that much else that's exciting. Duress is definitely coming in as well. But otherwise, yeah, maybe the Finks. I don't think any of this other stuff is too great. So Vraska's pretty bad here. They do have targets for her -3, but, like, you side out Abrupt Decay in this matchup anyway, so I think we definitely side out the 4-mana Abrupt Decay, even though she does have other use cases. And we can just go right ahead and cut all 4 Fatal Pushes as far as I can tell. Lily the Last Hope does not accomplish all that much, and that puts us at 61 cards. We have some slow... this Nile Spellbomb, too, in the main deck. I've got to remember to side that out when it's not great. So, okay. Skoos and Tracker, we can trim these as well. I think that's enough to make me want to play 1 Kitchen Finks. And... I guess that replacing a Skoos is just pretty solid. 3 Tracker is very clunky, but that is alright. Kalidas is clunky as well for that matter, but yeah, you know what? I'm going to leave in a Skoos over a Tracker here. It's really, really, really marginal in terms of a decision that actually matters, but without a 4th Bob, without 8, like top-tier turn 2 plays, maybe we just add another generic 2-drop like Skoos. Opponent's keeping. I'm going to keep this as well. We need to really make sure we draw that 3rd land. It's got to be black and untapped as well, really. But we have the odds in our favor. We're going to keep. This hand is extremely powerful. Thoughtseize and Duress. We have our best 2-drop threat, and we have double Fulminator Mage. We just need to hit the lands. And we have, so we might not cast our stuff on curve, but we are casting it, so opponent is exiled to search for tomorrow. I don't know whether to lead on Duress or Thoughtseize. So, leading on Thoughtseize is tempting because we can take a turn 2 Sakura Tribe Elder. Leading on Duress is tempting because we can take, like, anything else and leave Thoughtseize around for Titan. So I'm actually not sure if one is strictly correct or not. I think Thoughtseize is only better against Sakura Tribe Elder, plus a hand with no other ramp, with no other, like, cheap ramp. So I'm going to go with the Duress, but you could go either way here. Alright, so we can take everything with this, and, I mean, they have Explorer, Lightning Bolt, Relic, huh? It's interesting that our Fulminators actually have no targets right now. So what does that make us want to do? I actually think this makes us want to take away Relic, because this is going to grow the Goyf out of Lightning Bolt range, so that Bolt becomes basically a non-factor. And then when they cast their Explore, you know, that's all well and good, but... Let's think about this, actually. Maybe we should just take the Explorer. It's a cantrip, like, and my Fulminators will be good, or the opponent won't be doing anything, right? So... This is actually such a tough decision. Trying to just see all the different ways one could go wrong or the other could go wrong, right? I'm going to take the Relic. I'm going to take the Relic. Very, very interesting decision, but they're going to play the Explorer here. We are going to be able to Thoughtseize next turn if we don't hit an untapped land. We do. I think we still Thoughtseize here. We got to make sure we play Fulminator next turn, so we'll Thoughtseize. Bolt in response. Okay, then we whiff. Alright, alright. So they're hitting all their land drops, that is for sure. Okay, Stomping Ground. There's a Fulminator target, and that's what we're doing this turn. Yeah, maybe we were supposed to play turn 2 Tarmogoyf and really hope that we had, hope that we were going to hit an untapped land for Fulminator in the follow-up. I don't really know. Okay, they're fetching Wooded Foothills, which means we're going to have a Fulminator target next turn, but also might mean they just have Titan here. Yep. Well, what are you going to do? Our Thoughtseize whiffed, and then they ripped a Titan shortly thereafter. They had a low land hand, and they curved out really well in terms of hitting land drops, admittedly with some help from us. Allowing them to keep that Explore. Maybe we were supposed to take Explore. I don't know, but yeah, this is really tough. This is a tough one. Yeah, we're in trouble. I think we're just going to try to stop the bleeding. Hit a Valakut now. Let the Titan do the Titan thing and maybe draw an answer to him, but we're in trouble, for sure. And this is why this matchup is so bad. Like, their hand looked like nothing, and then it just, oh boy, Relic too. Yeah. Okay, we're extremely punished, all things considered, with how everything has come together for the opponent. We are very punished, and maybe it was incorrect to take away Relic. Maybe we just have to hit the Explorer there. But now they got another land to play, it looks like, out of hand for turn, because they got double Valakut off the Titan. Oh, but they don't have enough mountains yet. Oh well, now they do. Let's just make sure they're all on your deck, buddy, and then we'll go to game 3. Yeah, so let's say I take the Explorer there instead of the Relic. My Thoughtseize still whiffs on turn 2. And because they're going to just play the Relic and pass holding up Lightning Bolt. I still think we lose. Pretty badly, in fact. So, I don't know. I guess we needed some stuff we didn't really have, or we needed the opponent to be a little bit less to break on that Titan, basically. So interesting game, I suppose. But yeah, we're gonna run it back exactly as is, I believe, here in game 3. Let's do it. We'll take the play, and we have a one-lander. Can't keep it. It's a really good one-lander. Well, pretty good, but got them all. Opponent likes their 7. We, I guess, have to keep this. We're at the mercy of our top deck pretty significantly. We don't have a threat to speak of. I think we have to bottom our tracker here. So yeah, we keep it, but I don't know how far it's going to take us, my friends, but let's do what we can. So we see a Titan plus 4-lander plus Flame Slash and Elder. Well, pretty easy take of Elder there. Pass to you. So what we need to do is hit our 3rd land. And maybe a Liliana is our best path to victory here. So maybe we go turn 3 Fulminator, because we have hit our 3rd land at least, and then turn 4 Liliana. We need either that, or we need to... Alright, they have a 2nd Titan in hand, sure. Or we need to find, like, a Tarmogoyf stat. And we need for the opponent to not find, like, Relic to shrink it, or their ability to ramp going too far out of control. And they drew a ramp spell right away. I definitely would have taken a Farseek there over Flame Slash, but you can't Thoughtseize the top of the deck, and that's why this is such a hard matchup. So, that Mountain's out of their hand. We know their whole hand, and yeah, we're just gonna Fulminate right now. Okay, now we need Liliana or Tarmogoyf. And we draw Blooming Marsh. Well, okay. Okay, deck, okay. You know, more Fulminators are obviously fine too. You've got to be kidding me. What am I supposed to do when this happens? What am I supposed to do? Well, now Liliana does not save us, so we kind of need... we're going to thin on the end step here. I guess we need Fulminator, and we need them to brick, because it's unlikely they're going to brick on 1 more land, but they might brick on 2 for enough time to get us rolling. And hey, there's a Fulminator mage. Okay, so let's tap this way. We're going to... We don't need to hold up field yet, really, so... Fulminator, hit your Cinderglade. We'll sandbag a land for the usual reasons, and we will pass. Alright. There's Valakut. Sure. Okay, I was going to say, now we have another live draw of Surgical, but of course it's just a freaking Verdant Catacombs. Pass. Not much we can do here when we are in our worst matchup. We have to take a mulligan, and we keep a very keepable 6. And then we just flood with no threat available to us. Bottoming the tracker was pretty definitely correct in my opinion. By the way, because remember, it was a 2-lander. Fulminator was our big attraction, and one of our 2 lands was Field of Ruin. As it turns out, Tracker might have done some work here for us, but we kind of needed every other spell we had in our opener. I'm gonna untap before I do anything with this trophy. Okay, Surgical Extraction. Needed you a little while ago, because now we're just gonna die to land drops, even though we can beat these Titans. But that's still our play. I think we just pass, draw step, trophy the Titan, Surgical all Titans, and try to erase the land drops from these Valakuts. Maybe find more Fields of Ruin or something, but we've just drawn not enough action, or not the right action at the right times. But we're gonna play the best we can here. And there were some incentives to respond to the Titan's trigger, I guess, with this trophy, but I think our incentives were greater to do something like this for the reason of surgical extraction, among other things. Yeah, we extract the Titans now. Man, if we had been able to extract the Valakuts when they exposed the first one, that would have made this a very interesting game, but... So their hand is Bolt, Roast, Tracker. Well, at least they don't have a land drop yet. We are in trouble, though, obviously. And let's just take a look at what else is in their deck. They've got 2 Relics, 2 Obstinate Baloth, an Abrade, Flame Slash, and a second Tracker. Okay, these are the things that we needed to know about. Okay, Tracker, Bolt, Roast. Okay, so now we kind of need a kill spell for the Tracker. We don't get one. We get a Tarmogoyf. Alright, we're just on the plan of fading land drops from the 27 land deck, or however many they play. Oh boy. Yeah, we're pretty dead to a land drop, double Valakut trigger, clue. Roast. Okay. Doesn't look like they have the land drop. They do. Okay, they just wanted to... Yeah. Sweet. I'll play it out, but we're dead. Don't you hate seeing other people use our cards like this? Like, Tireless Tracker is our card. Come on. Come on, Valakut. You don't need the tracker. What are you tracking? You're a volcano. And we draw land. Good game. It's not as blasphemous as Tron putting Tarmogoyf in their sideboard, but it's still kind of blasphemous, right? Still kind of blasphemous. Oh well. Well, that was that's the Valakut deck. Boys and girls, it is our toughest tiered matchup, and you just saw why. Now, we stole game 1. We could easily have taken the series if we had just had some better top decks and they had some worse ones, really. I mean, I hate to state the obvious, but that's really where that came down to, by and large. So we were in it, but we didn't get there, so on to round 2. Good hand. We'll keep. It's a good, well-balanced curve. It's not quite the classic of discard into Goyf into Lily, but if they're a creature deck, it does a really good imitation with push into Goyf into Lily. So we'll see. We'll see. Glimmer Void. Mox Opal. Mishra's Bauble. EE on 0, just to turn on Opal. Chalice on 1. Well, that's a heck of an opener. You got it. Pretty happy to get the EE out of their hand, though. And we'll just play a Goyf. Liliana should be good here as long as they don't have like a Pithing Needle style effect for her. And Snaring Bridge is obviously going to be the card to beat, it seems. This is clearly some kind of a prison style deck. I don't know if we can necessarily identify exactly what they're up to right now, but these are fine matchups for us. They really are. We've got all that spot removal that hits non-creature permanents, so that's huge. Ooh. Exchanging an Opal already. Is this a Whir of Invention? I'm afraid it might be. Yep. Alright, so it's a Whir Prison, as expected, but... And Ensnaring Bridge, again, as expected. Alright, so... Assassin's Trophy is a good draw, but we're not going to use it quite yet. We are going to play the Liliana, get a card out of their hand, and... We'll get our Field of Ruin down. And this is a free... This is basically asymmetrical discard because Fatal Push is not only dead in the matchup game 1, it is also chaliced out. So... I don't mind them pitching a Talaria West there. See what else they can do. Liliana's obviously really good here. If they can't answer her, she might win us the game. If they can, well, we still have Trophy as an out. So, I think we just keep developing our resources and keep running them out of resources. I think that is the play here. They cannot currently make triple blue for Whir. So yeah, I think I'm pretty happy going Tracker into land. We'll pitch our forest. They pitch an EE. Again, makes me pretty happy to see those go to uses that are not involved with sweeping up my board. Alright, so it looks like we're at a point with our Liliana activations where we're probably going to have to use our Trophy before we get to the alt threshold, which is of course totally fine, but in some worlds, like if we have a full grip and we're not in a hurry, we can try to alt with her first and then Trophy the leftovers, basically. But Lily the Last Hope does not do all that much here, so that's a pretty free pitch to the +1. Could have cracked a clue first here, actually, but it is all good. There goes a Chalice. Let's crack a clue now. Dark Confidant. What are we playing around if we play it really safe here? And Trophy the bridge. I don't think we need to. I think we just go for it and swing for 8. Alright. Clearly that's good enough because they scoop. So, awesome. Awesome. Once again, it's great to win these game 1s, but as you saw last round, it doesn't necessarily guarantee us the victory in the match. However, we do sideboard better than most decks in the format in general, and specifically against this deck, I think, like I said, our matchup is pretty fine. So, here's where I start feeling a little bit naked without my my customary second Maelstrom Pulse on the side, but that's okay. We've got other things to do. But a lot of the stuff that I use, like Engineered Explosives, which is not in this deck, is good here. But we've got some stuff that's fine. We want some number of Surgical, maybe both, maybe just one. I don't necessarily know till I look at the rest, but Duress is good. Otherwise, I don't actually know that we have all that much to do in this matchup. Collective Brutality can hit Whir of Invention, but it whiffs on way too much. I don't think we're necessarily interested in it. I guess I'm going to put it over here. We might actually be interested in Fulminators because they do play utility lands. Choking them on mana is kind of a thing. They didn't have much mana last game, for instance. And also, we might just not have that much that's better to do. We've got to bring out these Fatal Pushes. And maybe we just do play both Surgicals in light of that, light of this exact configuration here. And then we've got, you know, again, the Collective Brutality. maybe should just come out altogether. Again, only hitting Whir, probably not where we want to be, especially because we have other discard effects that also hit it. They can Whir in a response if it's the right window. Yeah, Collective Brutality is just kind of bad, I guess. So, I think it's pretty easy to fit all 3 Fulminator Mages in here, and then we have a lot of things we could cut. We could cut A-Scoos. I'd like to trim A-Scoos in a lot of matchups. We can cut Lily, the Last Hope. We could cut Nile Spellbomb. And we could even probably cut a land in this matchup, but since we don't have enough to do out of the side, let's not cut the land. They do have a little bit of graveyard recursion with stuff like Academy Ruins, I assume. But I'm going to cut the Nile Spellbomb. We'll just keep the things in that actually proceed somewhat proactively through a game until we see more. Until we see more out of the deck. But Ooze can compete over the Academy Ruin stuff while just being a Grizzly Bear clocking them. And Lily, the Last Hope, can rebuild after Engineered Explosives and also get toward a win condition. Like if it's a stalled game, she makes the zombie army, then we get out from under the bridge. So, our opponent will mull. This is a fine keep. It's a fine keep. It's not as exciting looking as our Game 1 hand turned out to be. I don't remember what we started with in Game 1, actually, but our Game 1 progression was nice. But this is definitely functional, especially against an opponent going down again to 5. They stay at 5. Okay. Here we go. Talaria West, Welding Jar, pass. Okay. Good window for an Inquisition. I say window, turn 1. It's a pretty good window, yeah. Another Scoos was a pretty mediocre draw here, but we'll see what they're working with. They just have 2 Chalices, okay? I mean, obviously we take one, and they'll probably just run the other one out for fear of getting it discarded next turn, and we don't really care about Chalice on 1, to be honest, so the opponent's officially in top deck mode already, and, maybe they'll be disciplined with it, maybe they'll draw something else, who knows, but looks like they're thinking about what to do here. It is just the Chalice on 1, sure. Okay. We might actually just beat them with Grizzly Bears here. We'll have to see. But, of course, we'd want to draw something better than these Scoozes. Bob, Tarmogoyf, Liliana. These are our core cards, are our best cards here. Tracker is not really one of them, but, again, the opponent's not up to much, so Tracker gives us some inevitability here. Totally fine with it. Diversifies us along the curve against a possible EE. Liliana, the Last Hope. Alright. I think I kind of like actually just playing her this turn. No, I'm actually going to play that. Let's attack with the Use, and I'm going to play Tracker. We'll just get the best clock going that we can. It's not terribly risky to expose the Tracker without guaranteed value, especially because we can buy her back with Last Hope if that's what needs to be done. They don't have a third land, and they didn't play anything. So, Whir for 2 is live, I guess, but fetch land's a fine draw. We'll make our clue right now, I suppose. And I'm actually pretty happy to crack one as well. Not that we can clear the way with discard or anything, but, well, speaking of which, there's a discard spell, but sure. So they probably have a Whir in hand. They might be just waiting to Whir for 3 to try to use an Ensnaring Bridge to live. Of course, we have the out to that, if that's the plan. They have a Welding Jar, though, so... Alright, they do make a land drop and then they pass, so we'll crack our clue here. Extraction. Okay. Well, time to keep making 2 clues per turn. That's pretty good. I guess we're still shocking here because we have a Scooz in hand and that could become relevant. Okay. I really don't know what the opponent could have here, so I'm simply going to pass the turn. Opponent looked like they were about to cast something, then they're waiting till the end step. Is this a Whir? Yeah, okay. I mean, I don't really know why they wouldn't Whir for Bridge earlier than this, but sure. I'm deciding whether to surgical the Whirs now. I think I'm going to. Oh no, Chalice of the Void. Punt. Punt City. Okay. Well, that doesn't change anything, I guess, because that card was dead in hand. But, gotta remember Chalice on one, obviously. That's for sure. Again, yeah, it didn't really change anything, because we weren't using that 1 mana for anything extra. But, still not a good play. Still not a good play. Chalice on 2. Okay, so we fire off Trophy now, of course, in response. And that's pretty good for them. It's a decent little lock. But we have Maelstrom Pulses are out. Otherwise, we're looking to try to draw toward Liliana. And we've got all the draw in the world. We've got clues and surgical and all that. Not surgical, sorry. Bob. Clues and Bob. So we will begin just by cracking a clue. Field of Ruin. Okay. Yeah, we'll play that so that we can crack another clue while also deploying Bob. Okay. Oh my god, I'm forgetting about the chalices left, right, and center now. Yep, okay. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Sorry. Bad plays. Again, does that change anything? It does not. But that is no excuse to be missing, especially the second chalice trigger. So I've got to focus a little less on talking and a little more on not getting blown out by Chalice of the Void. Oh, the opponent gets their own countered, but of course I'm sure they just did that to empty their hand for the purposes of Ensnaring Bridge. So having this other Tireless Tracker is actually really sweet here. And even though there's an argument to not playing it first, just in case we go land, crack a clue, find exactly Pulse or Lily, we're still definitely supposed to just make double clue here. There's no way we're not. Alright, I mean, we're going to get there eventually. We've got to fade, I guess, Chalice on 3 now. would be the lock, but I guess I should be eating artifacts with the ooze as well here. Just in case the Academy Ruin stuff starts being relevant, so we'll eat that chalice. Alright, we'll crack a clue. Just going to use my fields to make another clue, another 2 clues here. Just churning through the deck. I don't think playing Liliana, the Last Hope, really gets us anywhere. I think we should just continue cracking clues as aggressively as possible. And there's not necessarily a reason to do this main phase either, but there's not necessarily a reason to hold it up either. We're going to be careful to not grow our scoos. Pitch an Inquisition, sure. Just in case they get cards stranded in hand somehow, which they really should not, but in case they overlook it. These games the board states get really complicated, they go long, so it is possible. So we won't grow our scoos, but we will continue eating artifacts out of their yard. Alright. Maelstrom Pulse is in here somewhere. That is obvious. That is clear. So, start cracking clues, looking for more land drops or for our actual good spells. There's the pulse. Okay. You know, we get fairly blown out by a Whir for Welding Jar. But I don't think that's a reason to not just try to pulse the bridge and win. Like, if they have exactly Whir in hand, they have exactly Whir. And I guess they could just Whir for another bridge anyway, right? So, with that in mind, we're going to pulse the bridge. Do we like fielding first? I think I like just cracking a clue first, and because we just kind of want to hit like a natural land drop, just for being as efficient as humanly possible here. Again, does this matter? No, not that much, but okay, we don't hit land. So the clue train comes to a halt for a little while, but we got their bridge, so does not matter in the end. And we swing with a big old board. Feels good. That is game. So I am definitely still affirming that we have a strong matchup against Whir Prison, and you just saw why. They had a pretty good progression despite a low mulligan, where their chalices lined up really well against us, what we were up to. Especially with this build that doesn't have Abrupt Decay, and only has 1 pulse and has no EE. Like, my list has a lot more outs to that soft lock they had. But even so, you know, Dark Confidant, if you get one under the chalice on 2, and Tireless Tracker are just giving you a lot of inevitability, and the onus then becomes on them to find the good stuff. So, alright, 1-1. We'll take the play here for round 3. And this hand's fine. It's painful, but fine. Hope we're not against burn or something like that. Okay, it is Esper Control with Island Polluted Delta, so they can't cast Esper Charm with the lands in hand. They can do everything else. I mean, Esper Charm's a good card, but Snapcaster Mage is the 2-for-1 that's a little bit more guaranteed to be good. Yeah, I'm going to take Snap. This is probably an annoying matchup. Alright. Their land is a little bit whatever. I'm gonna shock this in and play a Scooz, get Scooz under the Logic Knot, and then can go next turn Thoughtseize, continue clearing up the graveyard. If they ever want to path the Ooze, that's pretty good for me. Yeah, immediately pathing it, sure. Don't mind if you do. So they're going to pass here holding of Logic Knot. We're going to Thoughtseize first. So they use Delta, they use Path, they play Island. Inquisition, yeah, even better. So they still can't cast that Esper Charm, and, well, next turn they can, of course, with the fetch land, but I think that makes us want to take the Knot and then just play Tracker. Get it under other counter magic, get it under the Cryptic. Nice, okay. Dark Confidant's a pretty good draw. So we'll Thoughtseize. Opponent's going to grab that Watery Grave in response. I don't expect them to Esper Charm to force us to discard just one. Okay, yeah, they don't. Yeah, the Cryptic Command, I guess, is still just the take. Or is it? Because if we take Esper Charm, they can't use their mana efficiently this turn. Yeah, maybe we just Esper Charm, especially now that they've shocked in to do that. I'll go with that. So they have Spellbomb, Cryptic, Island in hand. Let's crack a clue. If we draw like another Thoughtseize, we're super rewarded for this. If not, we'll just play Bob. Attack for 4. Alright, the opponent's got Cryptic as a catch-up card, but we have ripped them up pretty well. Rendered their hand clunky, and they're opting instead of so their shield's down for Cryptic. I guess they just really dig in for a removal spell. They will concede. Okay, I was gonna just start saying how far ahead we kind of were, not out of the woods, but pretty far ahead, and that just goes to show you the scoop. So Esper Control, not a commonly seen matchup whatsoever. I'm not intimately familiar with the deck, but my impression is that they're a little bit more graveyard heavy, perhaps, so we might want to consider Nile Spellbomb a little more heavily than we otherwise would. So we'll consider the second Spellbomb, the Finks. I think we definitely want the Fulminators and the Choke. I think we definitely want Duress and Collective Brutality and probably nothing else. I mean, maybe Ishkana. Seems a little doubtful, but I guess until we see a little bit more of what they're up to, we're going to cut all Fatal Pushes, and we are going to cut a land, and I guess it should be Blooming Marsh, because they're a Path to Exile deck. Can buy that. everything else is pretty good. Maybe Kalidas is too clunky. How do we like Vraska? Vraska's a maybe. Well, if we have these 6, it's exactly 60. So, Vraska Golgari Queen. I think the Esper Control deck plays very few permanents, so I think we just cut Vraska. And here on the draw, sure, they're a Path to Exile deck, so maybe thinks it actually isn't that great of an idea. We'll just play 2 Spell Bombs, and that actually looks really clean to me. Let's do it. Opponent's gonna mulligan. Our hand is strong, it's just got very clunky mana, but we're keeping. Obviously, just hitting untapped lands here is good. Okay, that's not one of them, but it's a good card. Again, an untapped dual land next turn is great. We can have a double discard turn. Or I guess we can play Bob, but... Collective Brutality. I think we play the Collective here. This lets us use our mana. This clunky Field of Ruin. Remember that we are ahead on resources inherently because we're on the draw and the opponent took a mulligan. So the main thing we want to do is just not get locked out by our own lands. They have Celestial Purge, Path to Exile, Charm, Opt. I think we just take Esper Charm here. Their hand doesn't do... Well, I mean, it still does a lot, but... we have ways to disrupt the Purge before it becomes relevant. And, of course, if we play turn 3 Fulminator, if we draw the land we've been hoping for, the untapped black land, they can't do much about it. Tilt. Yeah, we can't really play the Bob into the Purge, so we just have to have a very mana-inefficient turn here. They've got Snapcaster Mage. That's good. That's good. But beatable. Especially with the Last Hope hopefully becoming involved at some point. I think we just have to take the Logic Knot there. So their hand is Path Purge. Alright, I mean, we're ridiculously far ahead on resources. We just need to start being able to have double spell turns or single spell turns involving our better cards. The opponent just scoops? I mean, yeah, we could have got land screwed, my friend. Nah, never mind, we had a swamp on the top. Swamp and a 4th land, yeah, we're gonna win that game if they didn't have a good draw here. So, fair enough. I mean, I'll take it. I'll take it all day. I guess if you're a control player, you've got to, for the sake of your own morale and energy and focus, you've probably just got to scoop the games that you're observably far behind in. All right. Well, we march on, my friends. We march on with this Donation League debut, and we're 2-1. Some pretty comprehensive wins in rounds 2 and 3. We took a game off of our toughest matchup in round 1 as well, so I'm cool with it. And here we go, round 4, winning the die roll. Sweet. Another clunky land hand, but I'm going to keep it. But it's a very open question as to whether I'm supposed to play Treetop or Fetch turn 1. The opponent's mulling. I think I'm gonna cast an Inquisition turn 1. Because that's just likelier than anything to cripple them. And we could also just naturally draw an untapped land off of our turn 2 draw step. So it is, yeah, it is going to be Inquisition time. And I'm just going to get Swamp here. We don't really need another green source anytime soon. You never know what we're up against. Could be Burn, could be Blood Moon. We'll get Swamp. Look at that. Look at that. It's a Simian Spirit Guide deck, so maybe it's not strictly a Blood Moon deck. Looks more aggro-oriented, but hey. Definitely was, my instincts were near to correct. So I don't really know what to do here. They have an annoyingly aggressive hand that has these Bomat Couriers to rebuild. Maybe we just take a Bomat Courier. Alright, I mean, we'll see how it goes. They go Ramanop Ruins, Bomat. I really wouldn't mind just drawing a Fatal Push for this. Another Thoughtseize. Well, that's not very good, but at least it's something, I guess. Mog War Marshal. I think we take that. Leaving the Bushwhacker 2 turns in a row is a little loose, but I think we're supposed to, given their hand relative to ours. It's possible. I was going to say it's possible they just play it here. And maybe we're just trophying the Courier next turn so they don't get to rebuild off of it. Then again, that lets them, they can cash in the Simian Guide to get their 2 cards. Okay. So does that make us want to draw step the trophy? It could kind of work against us if we do that, because they could just, like, draw Burn and use their Burn when they're untapped. I still think our higher upside is probably the draw step trophy, so that's our plan. We might just lose to this, because our hand is so painful and clunky, though. So this forces them to decide now what they're going to do. They do have full information, but again, we get kind of the most upside either way. In terms of, in theory, in terms of them rebuilding the least. But it's all very bad. We're having to ramp them with this trophy. Unless they cash in the Courier, unless they sack it, then they won't get the ramp, but still. Yeah, we're clunky. We're clunky over here. We didn't want to be against an all-out aggro deck for sure with our hand, but that's the game 1 problem. They choose to just allow the trophy to resolve. And yet they don't have any haste threats to play. Interesting. Okay, you know what would be a nice draw here is a good old-fashioned Tarmogoyf. They're going to hardcast a Simian Guide, you got it. Alright, well, we've got to use our mana efficiently, and now's a good time as any to play Bob. We're just going to trade him off with an ape, probably, but weird game. Weird game. I think this matchup is probably fine for us. It's just we can get the wrong half of the deck problem here game 1. First strike and trample. Ugh. So now we're not trading off with anything. Does that mean we chump? I don't think it does. I think we have to hope our Bob is just really good. We got to play for the higher upside things here. Like, just losing our Bob to save 1 damage is bad. We've got to just untap with him and hope he hits lands on his trigger. Goblin Grenade to the face. Well, I don't think we're going to win this one, my friends. And there's our Tarmogoyf revealed off of Bob. That was rough. That was rough. That looked so good at the start when they mulliganed, and when we kept a very disruptive 7, you know, we could go turn 2 Bob if we hit the untapped land after discarding him out turn 1. And then you're against a deck like that, and then you draw nothing good off the top of the deck, and so it goes. That's alright. That's alright. So, I will note that once again, this is a matchup where I'm really missing my Pulse and my EE. But, you know, let's see what else we have. We do have 3 sweeper effects. We're probably interested in all 3. Kitchen Finks is obviously great. Collective Brutality is good. Don't think we want Duress. Don't think we want anything else. Ishkana is a way to really stabilize and of course, start ending the game if we're far ahead. So it's not a top priority to bring in or anything, but it is playable depending on what has to come out. And I guess this is just a matchup where we cut Thought Seizes and Dark Confidants, right? At least 2 Bob, like at least all but 1 Bob. So this is a straight up 5 for 5. And I mean, exactly 1 Bob is probably fine, especially here on the play. I don't know. Yeah, Nile Spellbomb doesn't do anything, so even though it's a redraw, I guess we just cut it and play this Ishkana. It's pretty hilarious to be siding in all this high curve stuff against a deck like that, but it's still probably better than Thought Seizes and Bobs. And it gives us a lot of flood insurance. And we've still got a lot of good cheap interaction. So let's do it. Let's win this game with Ishkana. All right, let's make that happen. Obviously taking the play, and our hand is good. That's a keep. Good hand, and I think I might even just go get a swamp right away with Marsh Flats, just in case they're doing something crazy, like have the ability for a turn 1 Blood Moon. If it was Verdant Catacombs, there might be an argument to say, well, we'll play the Marsh, we can disrupt the early Moon anyway. But Marsh Flats is realistically only ever going to get a swamp here, and we're pretty far away from it mattering for a slightly better tracker turn 4, right? So let's just go get our swamp now. Inquisition you. The opponent has kept a full 7. Okay, their hand is Goblin Guide, Goblin Grenade, Goblin Pile Driver, Lightning Bolt, Reckless, Bushwhacker. So we are going to collect. We want them to play the Goblin Guide because we're going to Collective Brutality next turn. So we're not taking Guide. So that means we probably just take Bushwhacker. Yeah, Bushwhacker is the one that can actually beat us given the right sequence of top decks. So next turn it's going to be Brutality escalated either twice, either 2 modes or all 3 modes, depending on what we draw. Pitching 1 tracker here is pretty free. I don't know if I want to pitch both, but hopefully the Goblin Guide finds us a land here. Nope, but he finds us a Kitchen Finks. Okay. That's a solid one. I think I'm only escalating for 2 modes here. We could, like, if we pitch both trackers, then draw a non-green land, we're kind of not doing much. So it's not exactly a burn deck. I don't think we need the drain mode here. So we'll just escalate 1 time for 2 modes. Kill your Goblin Guide. Take a spell out of your hand. And pitch 1 Tireless Tracker. Okay, Goblin Grenade or Lightning Bolts. Let's read Pile Driver. Pro blue, when it attacks, it gets pumped by attacking goblins. I don't really know what's better to take here. I mean, Lightning Bolt doesn't line up particularly well against anything I'm doing, so I guess we just take the one that represents more damage. Pile Driver. Okay, we draw Field of Ruin. That is awkward for the aforementioned reasons, but especially because we can't field and then push, which would be kind of nice. I guess not that nice because we need double green, but we very obviously just have to hold up Fatal Push here because this incentivizes them to play out their Bushwhacker and try to get in with a big Pile Driver swing. We, of course, will just push Pile Driver. The opponent's probably going to be suspicious for that. I don't think we know about the third card in their hand. But of course, that's still the correct play, whether or not they anticipate it. Just even pushing a Pile Driver, if they don't do anything else, is fine. So we're drawing really, really live from here on out. Any land is good because we can go tracker into land. Most spells are good because we're post side against a deck like this. Everything in our deck is pretty much something we want to see. Ironically, some of the sweepers would be some of the most awkward draws here, but that's all right. We're in a good spot. Opponent's taking his time here, thinking. Our friend Larry Legend 19, and yeah, rightfully so. This is a turn where it's not necessarily obvious what to do there. Probably deciding how likely it is that they get punished for trying to go as all in as they can. Looks like they're going all in though. So here comes Burning Tree into Bushwhacker. We're gonna push Pile Driver when they attack. They've got Foundry Street Denizen. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, it's a good turn. That's enough gas off the top to... Oh, no Bushwhacker? Okay. They're kind of half all in, I guess? I don't know. I think you're supposed to just play the Bushwhacker there. I'm still going to push Pile Driver here. It still represents the most damage, especially if we're taking a hit from it this turn. So... yeah. So they have Bushwhacker, Lightning Bolt in hand. Okay, Swamp is not one of our worst lands to draw, but we're still fine that it's a land. Now we really are drawing fully live. Every draw on the deck except Ishkana can be cast, and lands are gas. So that said, I will probably take a trade here if they offer one. Maybe they'll just Bolt Tracker and then... yep. Okay, I mean, they've got a wide board and we still actually can't quite cast Kitchen Finks. So, a bit annoying, but I think we're still in a pretty fine spot. Liliana the Last Hope. Yeah, that's a very good kind of controlling card in this spot. We are a little bit soft to like a really good top deck right now though, but again, we're drawing so live. If they break this turn, I think we're pretty much gonna win. But stuff like Goblin Guide, excuse me, Goblin Grenade, although Goblin Guide there would have been rough too. Okay, Ramunap Ruins. Scooz is a good card in the matchup without question, but we don't have the luxury to get much mileage out of it. So what we have to do here is field them, fix our mana, then just play the Scooz and maybe even just trade it off with the Burning Tree, as bad as that is. Rely on Kitchen Finks to stabilize us. There might have been an argument for just shrinking the Burning Tree, but yeah, for exactly the reasons of Bushwhacker. I don't think we're supposed to. I think we just take all of our kills where we can get them. So they're both coming at us, and now we definitely have to take the trade with Skoos, no question. But we're still in a pretty okay spot. We get to tick up, kill the Bushwhacker. Play a Kitchen Finks, crack a clue on the end step, and maybe even buy back a Scavenging Ooze if that's what the game calls for. They're putting together a pretty aggressive sequence, though, so we're kind of just barely stabilized. I think we are, though, and we naturally draw a Skoos, so yeah, we're just going to tick our Lily up. Fatal Push is a fine draw, too. The opponent scoops to this. Okay, sweet. Well, you know, that was arguably the easier one there on the play, and we had a good progression, and they still kind of put us to the test, so just shows you the surprising kind of gas of a deck like that. Seems a little glass cannon-y, but I don't necessarily know that that's all that true. On the draw, we'll consider losing a Bob, but I mean, I think Duress is just... I don't think Duress is good. They're a creature deck. Like, they play bolts and goblin grenades and maybe a little bit of other things, but I think Duress is going to whiff too often. And I think the one Bob is better than a Thoughtseize because it just trades. Like, we don't care that much about taking the value out of their hand in every window. Like, sometimes just having a blocker is just as good. A lot of this high-end stuff is very medium, very mediocre, but I guess it's still better than the other stuff we're doing, so run it back. Okay, this hand's solid. We're going to keep. If the opponent takes a mulligan, I'll predict that we, assuming we curve out with our land drops. If the opponent takes a mulligan here, I would be pretty confident of the win. They're keeping 7, unfortunately, but as will we. Let's see what you got, OP. The Bomat Courier, sure. Okay, Blooming Marsh, good draw. So, just trying to decide between Inquisition and Fatal Push, basically. And holding up Fatal Push, that is. Inquisition might be the play here because it gives us perfect information for a turn 2 Collective Brutality plan, which is the plan. So, I'm going to go with the Inquisition, but Inquisition also gets worse over time, and Fatal Push is just always good in this matchup. Might not be correct, that is for certain, but... Alright, so... I'm going to take a Legion Loyalist here just because they represent more damage. Next turn they're going to tap out for their stuff, then again we get the full Collective Brutality experience. Foundry Street Denizen, of course, represents more damage over the course of time, but on this exact upcoming turn, it would be a Loyalist that we'd be more worried about. We can and perhaps will kill the Denizen, but maybe we have to kill the Bomat Courier so they don't rebuild. we'll see what they do here, and we'll see what we draw. All I know is that I am happy to know that I'm curving out on lands. Okay. So they're playing it a little bit more cagily. They have Denizen, Ruins, one unknown in hand. I think it's still got to be a collective brutality. And we still take care of the Bomat Courier. Like, yes, they can sack in a response, but they're going down on cards to do that. They get fresh cards, which might end up being good for them, but I think that's still the play. And we will just escalate once pitching, yet again, a tracker to drain them this time, because we don't want to whiff. So, yeah, we're going to kill that Bomat Courier. Kill your thing, drain you. Pitch a tracker. Next turn we can go land into push if need be. We've got Languish to catch up from a wide board, but again, that's kind of imperfect against this deck for a variety of reasons. Alright, so they just allow that to resolve. Okay. So we might be able to just kind of keep 1-for-1ing them. Well, Bushwhacker, that's a good one. That's a really good one. They have one unknown in hand, and they're definitely getting some good damage across this turn, right? But don't think it's anything that we truly cannot beat. If they have another Bushwhacker on top of this, it's bad. But Kalitas, yeah, that's another good catch-up card. But our hand's looking mighty clunky here. That said, we have Fatal Push to mitigate the damage this turn, and we're definitely not holding out for like an even bigger sweeper. Like, we just have to push whatever is going to do the most damage here. Burning Tree. Oh no, please no other Bushwhacker. I hope this is just to get +1 for the Foundry. If they've got another Bushwhacker, well, that would be rough. Another Foundry Street, sure, okay. Don't get me wrong, them having yet more gas is quite good. But at least we're only taking 3 this turn. Just really want to draw an untapped land here, obviously, Languish this board. But we had to push there in case we didn't. In case we don't. Untapped land. Untapped land. Come on, deck. Tapped land. Alright, well, we're definitely playing tracker. And we're definitely getting a clue. And then next turn, we're definitely languishing the board. Let's hope they don't rip anything too horrifying off the top here. You've got to be kidding me, the blind rip of Bushwhacker. Get out of here. Get out of here. That's just lethal, right? Unbelievable. Well, what are you going to do, my friends? Right at the crucial turn, we draw tapped land, they draw Bushwhacker. The odds are way likelier that we draw an untapped land than we draw a tapped land. The odds are extremely unlikely that they draw yet another Bushwhacker. We can't see these anymore. I think I discarded one, or maybe that was a previous game. Oh, that is Tilt. That is Tilt City. We had that one wrapped up. Just had to avoid the literal nut draw for a turn, or get an untapped land. One of the two. Either way, they don't win from there with Kalitas to follow things up. But sure enough, yeah, sure enough, that's what happened. So I am very disappointed to not be heading into round 5, 3-1 here. Very, very disappointed indeed. Think we were on the wrong side of luck in that window, without doubt. In that match in general, right? Because our blind game 1 hand that looked pretty good ended up being pretty poor against that deck, and our draws made it even worse. Their draws were pretty good. So, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? That was still a fun match. interesting to be like in a almost purely controlling role, which is where we find ourselves more or less against a deck like that. And yeah, I think it's a fine matchup. Yeah, you saw what happened. So, good game, well done to the opponent, and let's finish up the league here. 6 lands and a Thoughtseize. Well, I hope we don't finish on a note like this, where we're just getting wrecked by our own deck. Got 'em all. And this is a good, well-balanced 6. I'm trying to decide what to bottom here, and I guess it is just gonna be Hissing Quagmire, but of course Quagmire is better than Treetop Village in a non-zero number of matchups. And this is Burn. Okay, so it's gonna be, or Fanatical Firebrand. I guess this is the same exact matchup. This is another 8-whack matchup. So, all right. Goblin Grenade, Goblin Grenade, Goblin Guide, Fanatical Firebrand. I guess we just take a Goblin Guide, push the other one next turn. Seems like a hand we can beat. We've got Tarmogoyf. After all, this trading of resources is done with, and yeah. Okay, well, we get our chance to get revenge on this archetype here. Show us a land, Goblin Guide. Show us a land. They never show us a land, but there's another Tarmogoyf on top, so that's kind of cool. I think here we still have to just hold up Fatal Push, though. Get our tap land down. We'll give the Goblin Guide one more chance to be accommodating here and unmulligan us. There's the Firebrand. There's another Firebrand. Okay, here come the monkeys. The monkey goblins. But little do they know, we really control the monkeys, right? We control the treetops. There's a land. Okay, Goblin Guide has unmulliganed us, and now he will be pushed for his troubles. And now we hope to just take over this game with Tarmogoyfs. They do have Goblin Grenades, but it's kind of a 2-for-1. Blooming Marsh was a poor draw here. We wanted to see more gas, more action, but we're top decking extremely live from here on out besides lands. And they have 1 unknown plus 2 Goblin Grenades, so do they just grenade a Goyf right now? Attack for 1, that's probably the play. Then again, who knows? They're clearly considering a couple different lines here. Yep, that's the one. Okay, that's a good sequence. A discard spell off the top would be fine here to take away that Goblin Grenade before they can cast it. And of course we just rip a forest. Yeah, well, our second Goyf gets grenaded too, and then we're totally out of gas, but we will have Treetop to block. And the opponent will be out of gas too, but these 8-whack decks have been top decking us like crazy lately, so let's hope that's not the case here. We still have so many good draws. Scavenging Ooze, Tireless Tracker is a really good draw at this stage. Next turn. If they have to 2-for-1 themselves again for a Goblin Grenade, a Planeswalker could be a good draw. Yep. Okay, they drew more gas off the top. Legion Loyalist. At least it's not another Bushwhacker. Alright, come on. Show us something good, deck. Dark Confidant. It's not what I would qualify as good, but I have to play him. Treetop is a good blocker here, but our Bob is, if they find gas off the top, the Legion Loyalist is very troublesome. It turns our Bob into a chump blocker that doesn't even fully chump block, because it's not only first strike, it is also trample. But they are sending it with just 2. They might have a lightning bolt here, but I still have to fire up and I have to take the blocks here. Okay. Do I just get to kind of wreck their board here? I mean, they could have Fanatical Firebrand follow-up. I guess that's a reason to block the opposite way. But now they just have a forest. I think that was a loose attack. I think that was a loose attack from our opponent, and now they are extremely punished because we get to just play a Scooz and become a 6/6, gain 4 life. And I don't expect to lose from there. We're out of even Goblin Grenade range, even though they'd need 2 cards to put it together. Well, seems good to me. Hey, good job, Dark Confidant. And traded off with a Goblin and forced a sketchy attack from our opponent. And then you got to go take your S and let the Scooz take over from here. So we still have 5 creatures in the graveyards to eat. Yeah, that's game. All right, good game. Good game. We are, I believe, sideboarding the exact same way we did last round. No reason, as far as I can tell, to change things up. Of course, again, as we said, a lot of the higher-end stuff is not ideal, but I do believe it's better than the other things. So we were taking away, I guess, Spellbomb, 3 Thoughtseizes, and 2 Bobs, I believe was the decision. And I still like it. I still like it. Alright, so winning game 1 is pretty nice against this deck, which we did not do in round 1, because now this means, well, alright, obvious, Mull. Now this means if there is a game 3, we're going to be on the play for it, and we just have 2 chances to make things happen. This is a awkward but fine 6. We are going to keep it, and we have to send our Languish to the bottom here. Yeah, this is a strong one. It's a pretty strong hand. If this field was a Blooming Marsh, I'd be quite confident. As it is, we kind of need to hit land drops, and of course we could run out of gas if we hit too many, but they don't have a turn 1 threat, and there's our Blooming Marsh, so I will take it. So it will be an open question as to whether to push, like if they tap out for a 2-drop, do we want to push them or do we want to just untap and go Collective Brutality? Alright, well, it looks like it's a Bushwhacker turn on turn 2 here, so we're probably going to have to push and then untap in Brutality. Okay, so it's nothing too crazy, it's just a pair of things here. And we're just going to push the one that's going to do 3 instead of 2, which would be the Emissary. Then we're going to untap and probably Collective Brutality, but we'll see what we draw. Another Tarmogoyf, huh? If we had the ability to put land in the yard, I think I would actually just play Tarmogoyf here. And I kind of still want to, because one of the ways I lose from here is just by, like, whiffing on Brutality. Then again, Brutality, putting a sorcery in the yard, actually grows the Goyf out of Lightning Bolt range for future turns. So I'm gonna Brutality to kill the Bushwhacker, I think, which is a little bit awkward. But I don't really want to pitch anything else in my hand. So I guess that's a play. Brutality unescalated, which is a hazard of mulligans. Like if we had not mulled, we just had an extra card in hand, we could probably find something good to pitch to Brutality there. But as is, I think we're just supposed to do that. One way we could get punished for this is if they have Grave Hate to kind of undo the work we've done to get our Goyf to a 3/4. If they have like Grave Hate and a bunch of gas, we could get punished. Or if they just have a bunch of, they keep drawing all the haste threats. Cry of the Carnarium is our draw next turn. Alright. Yeah, I'm just going to untap and take my 2-for-1. They get to ping us. No, they didn't ping us. They should have. I was going to say, not exactly, not a strict 2-for-1, because they can ping us with the Firebrand, but they chose not to. Or they were just F6'd. Goblin Chieftain. That is spice. Okay. We get hit. Verdant Catacombs. Sure, that's a fine one. So we can either play double Goyf, or we can... I think we're only supposed to play one Goyf because we probably want to have a Revolted push specifically for the Chieftain. And that lets us fetch a dual land without having to crack it, or without having to shock it in. Foundry Street Denizen, sure. Goblin Chieftain, sure. Alright, so if yeah. We'll see if they make a risky attack here. They are. Oh yeah, we get to blow them out pretty well here. Maybe it's still correct for them to make this attack anyway. Just gotta make us have it and punch some damage through while they can, but they're gonna get punished for this for sure. So we push a Lord, partially because of the Lord effect and partially because that's our chance to. And then I don't know whether it's better to eat the Denizen or the Chieftain, really. I'm just gonna eat the thing that can get bigger, because I've got another Tarmogoyf to follow it up, and I just take less damage now. Okay, so Forest is a bad draw, but we'll take our window to get that Ramanop Ruins off the field. And they're empty-handed, so there's no way this, punishes us this turn for giving them an extra mana. If that was in any way a concern, we would have simply attacked first and then done the same thing. We got a Forest there because we've already got triple black, and of course we want as many green sources as possible for Skoos. Double Tarmogoyf should be pretty good here. They have a Frenzied Goblin. I don't know what this card does. Haste. When it attacks, you may pay red. If you do, target creature can't block this turn. Well, that's actually quite nice. It's actually quite nice. That is not a card I was playing around, nor should I have, I don't think, but Vraska Golgari Queen. Sweet. So the spice finally shows up. Now, what do we do with her? I guess we're just going to kill a goblin and pass. I guess we have to kill Frenzied Goblin. Nah, I guess we kill Goblin Chieftain, because we'll just leave both Goyfs back. And we'll run out this land in case we draw another land next turn, just getting more fuel for Vraska's +1, +2, rather. Okay, we're actually kind of on the ropes here because they were able to punch damage through last turn. Them punching through 4 damage last turn was rough. But thankfully they didn't draw anything too crazy this turn. And we just draw Skoos, so that's cool. It's very cool. Let's attack with a Goyf before we do anything else. Then I think what we're supposed to do here is just go all in on the Skoos while we have the window to do so. And then we'll probably cash in our Swamp for a draw with Vraska. So if we're going to do that, let's just do it now, just in case we want to do something besides invest mana in the Skoos. Yeah, so we'll +1, we'll cash in our Swamp, gain a life, draw a card. That's an Assassin's Trophy. That's fine. That's a good draw, actually, but I think I'd rather just gain all my life here and pass with a couple of gigantic blockers. Gotta leave 2 back for that Frenzied Goblin until we can get rid of it, which might be next turn. Or maybe we just keep going off of Vraska because it's cool, and because we're in a really good position, and because we want to see her put in a shift. Vraska Golgari Queen. Grenading our ooze. Fair enough. And then getting in with a Goblin. Yep, that's a good sequence. But they're very far behind. They just do 1 to us. Yeah, so since we have the trophy in hand, I think it's better to just... We'll play the Swamp, we'll float, we'll tick up, we'll cash in the Swamp, and we draw Liliana of the Veil. It's pretty great, because we can still hold up trophy. Liliana's of the Veil, we have not seen much of her this league, but still looks like we're going to get there without her. Opponent says GG. Good game, well played, my friend. Alright, so that was cool that we got to see Vraska in action at the end there. She was quite nice. Granted, again, as we kind of know with her, we're already stabilized at the time when she's good, for the most part, unless it's like a top deck war with a mid-range mirror, a BGX mirror. So there we really needed other cards to stabilize the board. But once we did, she was awesome, gaining us a little life, drawing us more cards, Flood Insurance, and of course getting a kill on an onboard permanent as well, killing a Goblin Chieftain. So it was a cool little cameo at the end from Vraska there. I was afraid we wouldn't get to really see her with... you know, we had to bottom her round 1, game 1, I believe. Or maybe I'm making that up. I don't remember. It's hard to remember details when the leagues go long and when you're just playing it all back-to-back while live commentating. So let's open our chests, because, yeah, it's only 1. Why not? Let's see what the Friendly League yielded, besides breaking even on ticks. We got a Detection Tower. Get wrecked, Bogles. We got Detection Tower, and we got Loxodon Warhammer. This is a card that my friends and I used to use in the kitchen table days. It's a pretty good one when all your decks are kind of bad. So, it's really not that far off from being good without that, right? +3/+0 Trample Lifelink. Those are some stats. Those are some stats. And a mighty 5 play points. So we come out ahead. And that was our first donation league. I think it went pretty well, honestly. We were grievously unlucky to lose against 8-Whack the first time. Grievously unlucky to have lost that. I think we were like 85% to win from the position where we were in game 3. And we top-decked a tap land instead of an untapped land, and then they top-decked a Bushwhacker. Even them top-decking a Bushwhacker doesn't do anything if we just had the untapped land. So first we had to miss that, then we had to miss other relevant stuff. Like, we could have top-decked other spells that were better than a tapped land, like Cry of the Carnarium that we saw here in the 5th round. Anyway, first we had to blank there, and then they had to rip the Bushwhacker there, so we got max punished for that. I really think we could have won that one. And then, of course, our other loss came against our actual worst matchup, where we took a game off of them, despite not necessarily being favored to do even that. So, all things considered, this was a fun league. It was a pretty successful league. Coming out positive is always fine with me, really. We just couldn't quite get over the hill to 4-1, but that is okay. This was a fun league. We didn't see Ishkana. We didn't see Damping Sphere play much of a role at all. We sided in Choke, but we comprehensively beat the deck where it would have been good. And you've seen me play Choke on this channel before as well in the past. So we did see the spice of Cry of the Carnarium, not against a graveyard deck, just getting a 2-for-1 against the 8-Whack. And we, of course, saw Vraska making her sweet cameo there at the end. So, this was fun. This was a fun league, and this is what the donation leagues are going to be like. So, again, if you're not familiar with the protocols there, you can go ahead and check out my video and my post on the subject. And this is just another incentive to support this content and or a reward for those already doing so. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed a break from the usual type of league and the usual list you've been seeing on this channel. Let me know, as always, my friends, what you thought about the lines I took, what you thought about my sideboarding in these matchups, which might come under, extra scrutiny here, because, of course, I'm playing with an unfamiliar list, but I think we mostly knew the way to sideboard here, but you never know. I'm always open to alternative suggestions, and of course let me know what you think in general about this form of content. So this was for you, Anon. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I did your list proud. And let's say welcome once again to Kurt Simmons, our newest Patreon supporter. So thanks for watching, my friends. Remember to hit subscribe, help this channel grow, and let me know what you think in the comments below. Talk to you soon. Hope you have a great day.